I wind up at SRI with Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, and basically people in the CIA and Defense Command said, Jack, we want you to work on two things. I'm compressing the story.
Right.
We want to know, how does consciousness work as physics? That's the book, How the Hippies Say Physics, bestseller book by David Kaiser, MIT professor. In the Kindle, I checked Kindle. My name appears 621 times. 621 times in that goddamn book, okay? All right? And he talks about the CIA and everything. So he said, Jack, we want you to work on two things. We want to know how does consciousness work and how do flying saucers fly. This is like 1973, 74, 75. Already 50 years ago.
Welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Jack Sarfatti. I'm not going to go into a long introduction. His reputation precedes him. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about gravity modification, and the topic will definitely diverge. So I don't want to hear any complaints about why somebody's talking about immigration or whatever. Random things come up in these discussions, and I do not censor my guests. So, Jack, welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is actually the most in terms of topics. I've done maybe 500 something videos, and one video has accounted for 20% of my views, and it was on anti-gravity, or at least gravity modification, whatever you want to call it. And that was from someone you probably know. It was Dr. John Brandenburg. So people are really into this topic. Now, let's talk a little bit about your theory. I think what distinguishes your theory from everybody else's is that it's low power. And there's a lot of things that on prior interviews you mentioned people simply don't understand about, even people who are, on the outside learned folks. But there's a lot of confusion regarding whether the object's moving or whether or not it's manipulating gravity to move its destination toward it, whatever. But let's get into that. At a high level, you have a craft, okay? And when you're kind of warping gravity, let's just say, you're compressing your destination, you're compressing gravity in front of the object, and you're expanding gravity behind it. Correct? And let's just kind of start with that.
Okay, wait. Let's start with that. Okay. Yeah. That's one model of warp drive by Alcubierre.
Yep.
There are others which do not require what you just said. Okay. What you said is the original one. Okay. Mm-hmm. There are others by Notario, I forget, but where the thing kind of slips by, but it's a little trickier. It's a technical thing. It has to do with whether the divergence of a certain quantity is zero or not zero. And divergence is something vector calculus. So we can't get into the exact details right now. Yeah. So yes. Now, as far as you said Brandenburg, I actually know John briefly. We briefly met. Kind of worked together back at Joe Firmage's ISSO in 1999. He's an engineer, and his equations. I don't want to say anything because I haven't looked at them for a long time, so I'm not sure if he really has the correct picture. But again, I won't say anything because it's rusty in my mind, and I haven't looked at it recently. But it's interesting that you got that response from his thing. The explanation of the flying saucers is actually quite elementary.
When the United States and China clash, the world will never be the same, especially when forces beyond reality threaten to intervene. What if the United States went to war with the People's Republic of China? How would these rivals fight for supremacy on land, sea, air, and across the stochastic streams of time? What wonder weapons would be unleashed? What horrors would emerge from the irradiated sludge of the South China Sea? What heroes would rise and forever change the course of history? Tread into the deepest and darkest dimensions of the multiverse, gaze through a kaleidoscope of fractured realities, and bear witness to the disturbing visions of World War III from today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War, China. Available now from Bain Books at bain.com.
Any graduate student, well, at least when I was in graduate school 60 years ago,
when most institutions required you to submit your SATs to apply to the university, but yeah,
this is before things went woke. Although things were beginning to go woke, but even back then, because oddly enough, here's a digression. Oddly enough, I knew Herbert Marcuse and Angela Davis and all these guys who created the whole cultural Marxist thing. I was actually part of it, being an idiot. So I witnessed the beginnings. I'm a witness to a lot of history. I'm going to be 85 years old in a couple of months in September. So yes, but the universities were still competent, professionally competent. I think some of them, but even physics departments and math departments are getting infiltrated by this cancel culture. What is it, DEI? This whole kind of thing that's also it's destroying our military. But in any case, okay. So how did I get off? Get me back on.
Yeah. We gotta be careful about talking about. Right.
Yes. And we also have to be careful of having my Biden moments, like Biden.
I'll keep you, but some of it's some of it's. Look, I feel bad for the guy. I do too. I feel like it's kind of elder abuse, to be honest. Like it is. It's elder abuse. Of course it is. Of course it's elder abuse. Of course the guy. I don't want to get it. I mean, whatever. Let's just stay on the physics. But so the point is that the basic explanation of everything they're seeing. Was it Louis Elizondo who did the 5 observables? I don't know if he did them, but he's the one who popularized them.
He popularized it, right? The 5 observables, the seemingly impossible acceleration, the stealthiness, all that stuff. Trivial physics. Mm-hmm. Elementary application of Einstein's general relativity. Now, I could show you a little bit of the math if you want me to. You want me to just quickly?
Absolutely. Now I'm going to ask you some dumb questions. So
okay. Can you see the whiteboard? Can you see it?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. I can see it now. So this is the equation: G mu nu equals K. I'll just call it K. Can you see that? What I'm doing?
Yep.
I just was okay. This is Einstein. Oh, what did I just do? Einstein.
I think you changed the brush.
Yeah. Field equation. Equation. Gravity. Field equation. 1915.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me go back. This is gravity field. Okay. This is what's called the stress energy tensor. And this is the gravity field tensor. Okay, let me go. How do I get to the next page? See, I'm not used to this whiteboard thing. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I guess I could do that. Okay, let me do it again. How do I get it? How to change the color? Let me change the color. All right. And is this an eraser? See, I'm not used to this. I'm used to a different program.
Yeah, by the end of the interview,
let me just see. Let me just see. Yeah, let me just see. All right. So let's see if we do. So G, all right, this is a little better. G mu nu is equal to K T mu nu. So this is the warp field. That's the warp field. You know, if Alcubierre, what you were talking about in Alcubierre's thing, space here, space contracts, and here space expands.
Mm-hmm.
Alcubierre. I hate this. Let me see if I could change that a little bit.
Do you want it thicker or thinner?
I think. Well, what do you think? Probably thinner. Let me try this.
Yeah, I agree.
But maybe this one. This is better. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Let me
good.
do that.
That's
Let me
good.
do that. Okay, let's start again because this is important. G mu nu is equal to K T mu nu. Okay? This is the warp field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's your tic-tac, and space contracts. Contracts. And here, space expands. Expands. Okay, this is Alcubierre, right? This is the one everybody's Al Q. Yeah, I think 93 was it? Almost about 30 years ago. This is the tic-tac. Okay. Now, suppose there's air molecules here. These are air molecules. Air molecules or atoms. Molecules. No relative motion. There's no relative motion. Motion. No relative motion between the tic-tac and the air molecules. That means there's no friction. Let me go. No friction. Because the air molecules are kind of moving with the tic-tac. There's no relative motion between them. No friction. No.
And that's because there's a field around the tic-tac.
Yeah, they're all. Yeah. The gravity field, everything. The tic-tac and the surrounding air, they're all freely falling through the gravity field that the tic-tac itself is creating with small amounts of energy.
Now, how does the field fall off with distance? Is it also
it's going to fall off very quickly. Very quickly.
Okay.
Very quickly.
It's like 1 over r squared sort of effect, something like that.
But see, 1 over r squared is infinite. It's 1 over r squared e to the minus lambda. I'm sorry, just a minute. Let me just. Hang on. It's e to the minus r over lambda. It's what's called the Yukawa potential. Yukawa.
Okay. All right. I didn't mean to throw you off on that. I was just curious.
No, that's good. No, that's a good question. It's an exponential decay. So if here's the tic-tac, and there's a little boundary layer.
Yep.
Of the order lambda, thickness lambda. So it goes off exponentially. And this is why there's no heat signature. But that's part of the 5 or the 6 observables. The 6 observables. All right. Because as the 6th one is the one of the damage, that the guys are getting sick. The guy, okay.
The biological effects, right? Is
the biological effects. Let me explain the.
Yeah,
I'll explain it. So here's a UFO, and here is Travis Taylor. Taylor, Skinwalker Ranch, Skinwalker, right? A ranch, and this is maybe 1,000 feet, right?
Yep.
And this thing is hovering. But in order for it to hover,
it has to move away from the ground. Right.
Well, it has to stay. It's staying still. It's above him. It's just hovering. It's still.
Right.
Right.
It has to oppose the Earth's gravity.
Yeah.
Field.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. So it's an anti-gravity field. Let me see when I do the. Okay. So the anti-gravity field. Let me make it even bluer. This is the anti-gravity. It's gravity. It's called the blue shift.
And that's where you get like UV radiation, gamma.
Gamma ray. It's radiation. It's ionizing radiation. It's almost like a slow atomic bomb, like an atomic bomb, not as bad. Because why is that? Why is that? Because this stuff is really simple. But people are so incompetent in physics. I'm talking about even guys like Elizondo and Chris Mellon and Colonel John Alexander, and even Eric Davis and Al Puthoff can't explain it properly. But you have this is like minus G M over R gravity potential. This gravity potential, it's negative. This is attractive gravity. And if you have say a photon, a particle, and that in order for it to move up here, it has to do work. It loses energy. This is called the gravity redshift. It's like climbing a mountain. To climb the mountain, you're a climber. You're exerting energy. You're doing work. You're using up, burning energy. To climb, you have to work to get out of the, to climb higher and higher, to get out of the well, the attractive well. So if this is a photon, a photon has energy h nu. This is the Planck's constant, Planck, and that's frequency, frequency of light. So since the energy is going down, like here's E1, here's E2, and since E2 is less than E1, that's a redshift. So the frequency up here, V2 is. Oh, in fact, let me just let me change. They don't have a good red on this. My program's better. So V2 is less than V1. So that's a redshift. But the anti-gravity is just the opposite. Anti-gravity, it's like a hill, right? But anti-gravity, it's like like the top of a mountain. Okay, and the photon is sliding down the mountain. So that's the photon. So it's gains energy. Gains energy. And that's the blue shift. Higher frequency, blue shift. Okay? So that's with Travis Taylor, the Skinwalker Ranch, there's a lot of blue shift there. That means the molecules, that means the photons coming from the bottom of the craft have enough energy to ionize the atoms. And it's basically, it's like being in an X-ray machine. And in fact, it could maybe generate X-rays. Okay. So he's just being radiated. So that's why I say he got sick and other people got sick because this. Oh, by the way, this thing is invisible, right? Invisible. It's cloaked. It's cloaked, like in Star Trek, because that's the metamaterial.
Oh, okay. So to oversimplify it, if you have something that has a lower frequency, like the color, like a red photon, right?
Yeah.
It's going to shift up into like a higher on that scale, which is
if
like
you're
a blue,
if it's a
blue or ultraviolet photon, basically.
yeah, or gamma ray, or X, or gamma ray, or worse,
right?
Depending on that. But that's basically what's happening, and there's all kinds of evidence for that. There's recently there's been
and that's why you can't see it, because it's not in the visible spectrum of light.
Well, no, that's a different thing. No, those are different things. That's different things. They get operating simultaneously, but they may not be. Not necessarily. Because the anti-gravity, that's a gravity field. What you see is electromagnetic field. There could be other. Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. It really depends on the situation. It could be.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. There's no simple. It just depends on a lot of variables that you have to specify. No, because we see the thing accelerating away. Yeah, because there could be photons from other parts of it that aren't redshifted. You see, it's blue shifted. It's in other words, here, let me just draw that. Hang on. If I have a tic tac.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. This part, and it's moving this way. This part is redshift.
Mm-hmm.
Redshift. That's because space is contracting. But this part is blue shift. This part is this part is the blue shift. Okay. And if the thing is hovering, well, it depends, because there's a wide spectrum of there's a wide spectrum of frequencies coming down. Okay.
Right.
So there's big spectrum of them. So the really low frequency ones won't be redshifted maybe into the visible. So it doesn't mean you can't see it.
Right.
In other words, if there was a single frequency coming from the ship, and if that single frequency was blue shifted from visible to X-ray or something like that, then then you wouldn't see it with your eyes. But there's a whole bunch of photons. There's heat, there's low energy, low frequency photons coming as well. So that's why you get sick and you can see the thing at the same time, because there's a broad frequency spectrum of photons that you're seeing. Some of them are so blue shifted that they're causing illness. All right, but others are not. So. Okay, that's what I should have said. So I think that answers your question.
That makes sense.
But,
because in other words, you have this field. It's not necessarily.
It's a broad spectrum of frequencies. It's not just a single frequency coming from the craft. It's like anything else. Like for when you see a regular airplane, in the FLIR, when Commander Fravor, sees his target, he sees it with infrared, but he also sees it visually. Okay. So go ahead. Ask me another question.
Okay. So in prior interviews, there's a lot of folks who've used conventional physics to explain this, like these sudden accelerations, stuff like that, as it is observed, right? So they're just taking the velocities that.
Yeah. Well. Okay. People who do that are stupid. They're just stupid. They're not good physicists. Anybody who tries to explain it that way. Well, no. Okay. Now let me qualify that. There are people like Kevin Knuth. Okay, Kevin Knuth, who's a competent physics professor at some university in Albany or something.
Yeah, university.
And what he does is okay. What he shows is that if you try to use conventional physics to explain the observation, then you have impossible stuff. You have like 5,000 G, you rip the thing apart. Yeah, that's true. In other words, what that shows is any conventional, Newtonian engineering, aeronautical engineering, the stuff that our jet air force depends on, all that kind of technology cannot explain what we're seeing.
Right, because it just doesn't make any sense. But
this explains it very elementary.
Right.
In
It's
other
because
words,
the pilot is, exhibiting something that's different from what the observer is saying, right? Because they're
no,
working
no, no,
space
no.
time.
I don't know. I don't know. You just what you just said to make a no. It's because I guess this Commander Fravor is and David Grush, Chris Leto, all these guys. They're competent in their field. They're great, heroes. And I was on an aircraft carrier with these guys for several months. I actually lived with. I was on the USS Ranger. I lived with these guys.
You were teaching physics on the
on the Ranger back in the 80s, and I actually lived. I was I had the equivalent rank of a lieutenant commander. I mean, I had that kind of ability. I was a civilian, but it was a special project. So I lived with these guys. I ate with them. Had breakfast. I ate in the officers' mess with the pilots. When I was that 3 months. I was underneath. I was underneath the catapult. So, and I flew in an S3 and I landed with them and took off with them and all that kind of stuff. So these are great guys, and they're good engineers, and they understand, let's say, pre-relativistic Newtonian physics, right, which is all our current technology is based on Newtonian, basically non-relativistic mechanics.
Except satellites, which require.
Well, the satellites require a little general relativity correction. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Right.
But okay, yeah, but that's like, that's hidden in the background. And so, what they see when they see these things do what they do, it doesn't make sense in the framework that they've been trained. Yeah, it doesn't make, because it violates Newtonian physics, but it is elementary application of Einsteinian physics. So it means warp drive. So the only way this can happen is what I'm saying. There's no other way. And in other words, and what I'm saying is mainstream elementary application of what Einstein showed us over 100 years ago. It's simple.
Why is it taking so long for our people to? Because
people are stupid. That's why. Because they're stupid. I guess just got to say it the way it is. They're stupid.
What about just the metamaterials that are involved? Isn't there like an engineering challenge behind
but that's a different thing. Let's not. Okay. There are different things. There are different levels here of what I'm talking about. I'm now talking about understanding what we're seeing. I'm not talking about a patent to make a metamaterial that will accomplish what we're seeing. Those are two separate things. And let me make it. See, people don't understand basic things about science and technology. They really, the education system is so bad. Let's go back to the 1930s. Mm-hmm. Let me stop this share. Let's go back to the 1930s. 1930s, by 1938 or so, every physicist understood the possibility of an atomic bomb, of making a nuclear weapon.
To advertise on Through a Glass Darkly, email throughaglassdarkly@gmail.com.
Because a couple of things. Because Lisa Meitner, this Jewish woman in Berlin, around 1936, she showed nuclear fission in the lab. The basic nuclear fission with the release of nuclear energy. And also at that time, Niels Bohr and John Wheeler, and I knew John Wheeler pretty well. He talked to me about all this stuff. And they did what's called the liquid drop model of the nucleus. So they had the basic theory of it. And so when the war started, everybody knew you could make a nuclear bomb. And it was Einstein and Szilard who wrote the letter and alerted FDR. And guess what? Oppenheimer had this meeting up at the Bohemian Grove where I have been. I've been up to the, I don't know if you know about Bohemian Club. What's his name? Alex Jones says all kinds of evil things, and it's not true. Says they're Satanists and
Yeah,
I've
it's
been
like
there many
all
times.
all the owls.
Yeah,
And all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
I've been up there. I've been there. Okay, and but Oppenheimer was there, the same place I was. He was there in 1941, I think. They had
Which
this big,
camp? Because I know they have like camps that you go to.
yeah, they have. Yeah, well, no, he was at this. He was at the top of the. They have a. I forget the name. It's a famous architect. It's like a chalet. It's a Swiss chalet. I was said, yeah, they have 120
Like
camps there.
James Lloyd Wright. I got that.
But no, it's not Frank Lloyd Wright, but it was somebody like that. I forget what.
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah, I don't think it was Frank Lloyd Wright, but it's a beautiful. It's a Swiss chalet at the top of a hill, and they had a meeting there with a lot of top people, and that's how the Manhattan Project came to be. And I was invited up there several times by people who wanted me to create Manhattan Project 2.0. You know, because I studied at Cornell. My professors were the Oppenheimer's A team, Hans Bethe, people like that. So I keep losing. So I was taught physics by the guys who made the bomb, and people I knew up at these Bohemian guys, contacted me and asked me to come up there. I was there with Kim Burafata and a few other people, and several times, they were trying to organize a group to do what I've done to explain the UFOs. Okay, but the point is this. Okay, the point I was trying to make is that even though everybody understood the possibility of chain reactions and the possibility of making the bomb, elementary physics, okay, it took a whole Manhattan Project, and they did it in record time. It took 3 years, right, the equivalent of billions of dollars, hundreds of the top scientists, to actually convert the understanding into operational technology. That's a big difference. And people who don't understand anything, they think they do, but they don't. They think, oh, if you understand something, go out. They say, go into your garage and build me a flying. I mean, it's so stupid. It's like going.
Oh no, I got comments. I got comments like that on the Brandenburg episode. It's like, well, just prove it, build it. It's
yeah,
like,
people. I mean, these people are so stupid. I'm sorry, but go back, drink your beer, watch your goddamn football, and shut up. You're pissing me off, and I'm a grumpy old man. Okay, all right. So in any case, so they understand. Okay, so when I say I've solved the problem, I mean I understand what this doesn't mean I can go into a lab and tell them how to make a metamaterial that's going to do what needs to be done. That's right. Okay. And now we can talk about it. But the separate. That's like the engineering part of it.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, you're the theory. You've developed the theory. Then it has. Well,
it's not even a theory. It's something that's so obvious. It's so obvious. You don't have to develop a theory. Anybody who understands a few basic things about the physical meaning of Einstein's equation right away. Okay, let me go back. Let me elaborate on that a little bit and be very specific about that. Let me go back to share content, and let me go to the whiteboard. Okay. Bold text. Okay. All right. So now, here's the point. Let me do this one. Damn it. Let me start again. G mu. It's a lousy program.
You blame the Chinese.
Is it Chinese program?
Well, Zoom. Yeah, Zoom is. Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. I want to do this. No, I want to do that. And I want to do this. Does that work? Yeah. Yes. Good. All right. G mu nu is equal to K T mu nu. Okay? The whole thing is K. K is the coupling. Now, This is the electromagnetic field, the EM field, and this is gravity. So K connects the electromagnetism, EM field, to gravity field. Okay, that's the coupling. It's like a transducer. Let me draw. Okay, let me draw. Here is. These are. Come on. What's happening? What happened? Wait a second. The software fails me. The hardware fails me. These are photons. Photons. What the hell? Particle spin 1. Quantum spin 1. This is like the K machine. And out comes a graviton.
Mm-hmm.
Into spin 2. Whoops, spin 2. The only thing is in quantum mechanics, 1 plus 1 equals 2 plus 1 plus 0 in quantum mechanics. So that means what that means in principle, you get different kinds of gravity fields. Okay, but this is K. K is the big thing. K is like the transducer. Transducer.
And what do you mean by spin 1 and spin 2? Sorry for the.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all quantum particles. They have mass. Okay. Let me. Okay. Particles like the photon, the electron, the quark. Oh, damn. Why this thing doesn't work? Quark. Maybe quarks. A proton. What? Neutron. Mesons. And so on. They have spin. What's called quantum spin, which can be either 0, 1, 1/2, 3/2, or 2. And they have mass M, and they have different kinds of charges.
Okay.
Charge. Okay. Charge does. There are different kinds of fields. There's, besides the electric field, besides there's EM field. There's the weak field. There's the strong field. There's also something called the Higgs field. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what's called the standard model of elementary particles. So this is all, the quantum field theory of matter.
Quantum mechanics, basic quantum mechanics.
Quantum mechanics at the high energy scale. Yeah, at the basic. Yeah, this is all right. So now let's get back to. So here we have like 2 photons. And we have this K thing. And out comes, let's just say, a graviton. So this is the conversion of electromagnetism to gravity. There's no mystery there. No mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Einstein solved this in 1915. Einstein, 1915. This is the photons of the T mu nu. I'm oversimplifying. This is the G mu nu, the gravity field. Okay. Mm-hmm. What is the problem, though? The problem is that K is too small. In fact, K, when you put in the right numbers, K is 2 times 10 to the minus 43 newtons. Newtons to the minus what? The reciprocal newtons. Newton is a unit of force. Force in the MKS system. I lost my. There we go. Okay. So K is too small. All right. Let me put this. Let me. What happened here? Okay. Let me stop. Okay. So that's the problem. So okay. So the problem is that K is too small. That means that in order to get a desired change in the gravity field, you need a tremendous amount of energy density, actually, stress energy density, to accomplish that. In fact, so much energy that it's like impossible. It seems to be impossible. Like it's more energy in the whole universe to do it. Okay? That's if K is that small. But physics is not religion. Physics is an observational subject. We now have plenty of evidence that these machines are modifying gravity, and they're doing it with hardly any energy at all. So so I'm like Sherlock Holmes, like a cop, right? I'm analyzing. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I said, well, when he says when you've eliminated, what does Sherlock say? When you eliminate every possibility, the impossible is the only answer. So the explanation is that there is a way, a technology to increase that K. Because if you increase that K by a lot, you have to increase a lot. That's the issue. If you increase it by many powers of 10 relative strength, that means for the desired for a fixed gravity field, say you need a certain amount of gravity field to cancel the Earth's acceleration at the surface of the Earth, 9.8 meters per second squared. You need a certain amount of G mu nu to do that. If you make K big enough, then the amount of electromagnetic field energy density that you need goes down. Right. So that's what we're seeing. So that is a fact. That's 100. That is like an elementary fact of observation by deduction of a PhD physicist, trained at Cornell by Hans Bethe and Richard Feynman and John. I was actually with Werner Heisenberg in Munich in 1996.
He lived that long?
What?
Heisenberg lived that long?
1966. Yeah, 1967.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, in fact, I was with Heisenberg and Richard Feynman at Caltech. I mean, I knew these guys. Okay, and so so I need dumb shits telling me stupid things. Okay, and so there is a way of making K a lot bigger. That's what we know as a fact of observation. Now, also, you have to remember a little history here. I'm at Cornell in the late 1950s, learning as an undergraduate, studying directly with the guys who built the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer. If you saw the movie Oppenheimer, a lot of those guys in the movie were guys my professors at Cornell. Okay. I get out. I wind up at UCSD, La Jolla, as a graduate student. And there was the guy, Greg, the Benford. I don't know if you have Greg Benford, Timescape. You know about the Benford boys?
I've met Greg because
you met Greg. Okay, so
there's a writing contest I won. So he's a science fiction.
Oh, okay. So Greg and I were graduate students together.
Okay,
with his brother Jim Benford.
Yeah, they both got like 1600s on their SAT. Like they were really smart. They're from Alabama.
Yeah, but they took. We took the PhD written qualifying exam at UCSD in 66, I think, or maybe 67. And I think it was probably 67. We took it. I was second.
Who was first?
Well, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was, but there was it was Herbie Bernstein. So I was second on that exam. So that means I beat at least one of the Benford boys. One of them was first.
At least one of them. They probably got the same score again, right?
Yeah. And there was Harry Essien. There's a bunch of guys who, so I was the second. And because I was still a graduate student. And because of that, San Diego State, which is another state college down the road, contacted me, and through another guy named George Chapline Jr. I won't go into all the detail. In any case, I was offered an assistant professorship at San Diego State while still just having a master's degree. Because I was number 2, and they needed, but there was a shortage then. There was a shortage of physicists. Yeah. And they thought, so I became an assistant professor of physics at San Diego State while still being a graduate student back in 1967, because I was number 2 on the written exam. Okay, with my competitors being the Benford boys. Okay, and there's actually a photograph of us all together. And in movie Timescape, where they talk about, but what is Timescape is about, the future affecting the past, which is all this kind of physics that I'm actually doing. So it's funny.
Retrocausation, right?
The retrocausation is very much part of my whole thing. Okay, so the point is, the truth is strange. It's like their novel, in which I am in it, kind of me. There's a composite character, Herbie Bernstein, me, a bunch of us. There's this character that's based on us. We're all hanging out together. All right, we're all going the same classes. Graduate students again. Small. Revelle College was pretty small. We had Ed Teller would come down, Harold Urey, John Wheeler, Fred Hoyle. It was Fred Hoyle had all this retrocausation. That's how the Benford kids got the idea. It was because Fred Hoyle it was his idea. He had the idea. And he wrote science fiction things about it. The Black Cloud, all that stuff. Okay. So because I was at Cornell. Okay, so I'm an assistant professor at San Diego State in the late 60s. It's also a Navy town. That's why I got involved with the Navy, because we ran the Navy program of Flow College Education. But of course, the CIA, basically, I'm making a long story short. So by the early 70s, and by this time I had already been with Heisenberg in Munich. I'd already been several times at Her Majesty's Atomic Energy Research Establishment at Harwell. We wrote a major paper, okay? And I was there with with British. I was actually staying at a Royal Air Force Officers Club on the campus of Harwell with a whole bunch of these MI6 guys, and these guys from World War II. They were still there, And so the basic guys from the CIA, and you could just, I wind up at SRI with Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, and basically people in the CIA and Defense Department said, Jack, we want you to work on 2 things. I'm compressing the story.
What?
We want to know, how does consciousness work as physics? That's the book, How the Hippies Say Physics, bestseller book by David Kaiser, MIT professor. In the Kindle, I checked Kindle. The name Sarfatti, my name appears 621 times. 621 times in that goddamn book. Okay, all right. And he talks about the CIA and everything in it. So he said, Jack, we want you to work on 2 things. We want to know how does consciousness work, and how do flying saucers fly. This is like 1973, 74, 75. Already 50 years ago. Okay? And that's basically what I've been. I basically pulled out of academia. Okay. And now I solved the consciousness problem back around 1995, 96. There's a review paper by a guy named Paavo Pilkin. He's a big shot professor of cognitive science. He's funded by the Fetzer Foundation. He's a professor in Helsinki, Finland, and in Sweden. And he wrote this very nice paper in December 2023 about the brain and the quantum mechanics and consciousness. And he has a whole section 7 explaining the Sarfatti explanation of consciousness in terms of quantum mechanics for his professional audiences, of his cognitive scientists, whatever. So, it's now almost official by a college, by an expert in the field. Okay, I've solved the damn problem, as I was asked to solve the problem by the CIA 50 years ago. But I solved that like over 30 years ago already. Almost 30 years ago, I solved that particular problem. And when I say I solved the problem, that means we can make in the laboratory conscious artificial intelligence using nanotechnology, what are called quantum dot artificial neural nets. Basically, the sort of thing that's in your iPhone, but now at the scale of 3 nanometers. Apple has this new M3 chip. There's 3 nanometer scale technology.
So this is like NEMS, nano electro.
Yeah. And what I'm saying, we can just modify that, and using Stuart Hameroff's, the Hameroff Penrose stuff, using their ideas, I tweaked it a little bit. What I'm saying is, if we make such a neural net at the nano level, and if we pump it with electromagnetic energy at the right frequencies, it's
like
going
a Froelich condensate or something like that.
That's the fact. It's like a laser. It's like you pump a laser, get a.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is. I just know the right words. So
all right. Well, yeah, what it is. It's basically It's basically room temperature superconductivity, but it has to be done at non-equilibrium. It's like a laser beam. Like you get a coherent laser beam only if you're pumping in external energy. It's called a pump. You have to excite the atoms to higher energy levels, and they drop down. But with simulated emission, they make it coherent. Well, a very similar thing happens inside metamaterial. Metamaterial is artificial, complicated stuff, and they have things like photons, but they're called quasi-particles, collect plasmons, polaritons, there's all kinds of stuff. And you pump them correctly, and that's the mind. The further condensate is the physical mind field, the brain. Okay, our brains, we are metamaterials. Right. At the nano scale. The whole microtubules, all this Hameroff stuff, that we're biological molecular metamaterials. And our minds, Jack Sarfatti's mind, talking to Sean's mind, that's my further condensate entangling with your further condensate, and we're exchanging, conscious. I mean, you're conscious of what I'm saying, and so this. Right. In any case, that whole thing is basically we understand it, qualitatively, but we can test it by. This is why. Oh, by the way, my next door neighbor is Sam Altman. You know who Sam Altman is?
Yeah.
Chat. He's literally next door to me. We share a boundary. Okay, I haven't met him yet. I haven't met him because I'm in England much of the time. He's just moved in about 2 years ago. He's making a lot of noise though. They're banging. He's got this. He's doing too much work there. But in any case, but Sam Altman, all this AI stuff. Even Elon Musk, they're stupid. They don't understand. I mean, their AI. By the way, the AI is crap. I play with Grok. I play with the chat. Yes, and it's stupid. Because it's
easy to get them into a logic loop where you
exactly, and because they have no understanding. They're zombies. It's conscious. They lack conscious. I'm talking about making conscious artificial intelligence. As conscious as us, because we're just imitating what we are. We are machinery. We are nanotech scale machinery. In fact, we've been designed. This is the whole CIA's John Ramirez. About him. About John Ramirez. The whole John. This is what John Ramirez is so. This is what when John is so afraid to say what he has said. Okay, he said, we were engineered, right? We were engineered. Yeah, of course we were engineered.
By what though?
And that's. Well, by us from the future, because this whole thing is time travel. See, so okay, so there's this guy Michael Masters. You know Michael Masters?
Yeah, I've interviewed Michael Masters.
All right,
future. Yeah,
right.
Like,
Yeah.
he
Okay.
looks
So
at neoteny and like the facial structure of observed
Okay. So
sightings and
right.
fits future evolution. Right.
Yes. So the point is now I think we were on the same. No, yeah, we were on the same thing. We never actually met. We actually lectured on the same thing in Italy, but it was by Zoom. So, I mean, Michael Mast is not a physicist. He's a biologist, smart guy, right? He's come to the conclusion that it's time travel. Sort of like Sherlock Holmes. He's doing deductive work, but he's not doing it from a physics point of view,
right?
Which is good. He comes to the same endpoint I am at, but we're coming from two different disciplines, two different areas of science, and reaching the same endpoint. Different reasons, but consistent with each other. Okay, I have the physics of it, and he has, evolutionary biological arguments. So they're coming from the future because, and it's so beautiful, so beautiful. If you can control gravity, you control time. That is time travel, because gravity is the dynamical field that is space and time. Gravity itself is the curvature of space-time. So if I can control the gravitational field, I can travel. And I could show now some technical details of that. It's actually pretty nice, pretty cute. Doctor Who, it's fun. Oh, there's a new article that just came out. There's some asshole named Olmos in Spain who's actually published a I just saw it today. He published a whole detailed thing about the history of Louis Elizondo and Hal Puthoff and Colonel Alexander and the Pentagon, all this AERO, all this spooky stuff.
Counterintelligence operation. It's obvious.
Yeah. Well, this thing came out. This thing came out today, but he does some pretty good work, but he's sloppy. In one place, he says that Colonel John Alexander has a PhD in theoretical physics. He doesn't. He has a PhD in education from Walden University, which is just a pay.
I saw that. I was pretty sure he didn't have a PhD in physics.
No, he doesn't. So he's. But then, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's the good, the bad, the bogus, the good, the bad, the ugly. Clint Eastwood. But he also has a thing that Hal Puthoff says in there, that when you go inside the saucer, the volume inside is bigger than it would appear from the from the surface, from the outside surface.
Don't your equations imply that anyway?
Yes, of course. Yeah. The point is, and by the way, Jacques Vallée, also in his novel called Fast Walker, he talks about that. It's a thinly disguised fictional version of what is supposedly real. Okay, and in that, Puthoff is correct. Basically correct. Yeah, it's elementary. It's the same sort of stuff I'm talking. It's Einstein's
that's where the engineering.
It's non-Euclidean geometry. It's non-Euclidean geometry.
Well, it's where the physics starts. The physics. The engineering gets complex because while you're warping space-time outside, you have to keep it consistent inside. So there's some sort of engineering you have to do to kind of cancel.
But the point is, the basic mathematical, the basic phenomenon is elementary. It's a feature of a certain kind of non-Euclidean geometry. You see, with Euclidean geometry, the volume is 4/3 pi r cubed for a sphere, and the area is 4 pi r squared. But with Euclidean geometry, there's a curvature factor that comes in and changes, so the volume could be.
It's like when you're looking at train tracks, right? Which are supposed to be parallel lines, non-Euclidean geometry, they appear to intersect, right?
Yeah. Well, whatever. But so the point is that but the point, my only point was that Almost was saying that pseudoscience that Puthoff is wrong, but Puthoff actually is right about that. Yeah. Right. So I'm just saying that. So the point is that a lot of the people who are in the intelligence community writing about this stuff just don't understand enough physics to be able to, distinguish, the shit from the shinola, That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff about Ned Olmo. He did a good job, but, his physics is lousy.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is you can get lost in the math. If you're too far into the math, you're going to miss the basics of.
Well, that's a whole other. Yeah, that's true. A lot of it. Yeah, that's why
theory.
People. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. So that's why a lot of very smart people who could have discovered what I discovered didn't discover it. Number one, because they there was a stigma. They didn't want to. They were afraid to even think about it because they're afraid of losing their jobs. And basically, I was pulled out of academia and funded independently, so I could. In other words, James Bond had a license to kill. I had a license to be Jack Sarfatti, to be crazy, and dare to think about things that were not considered academically respectable. No, they bet on me. They bet on a few other people too. They bet on me. And I don't want to sound too much like George W. Bush on the aircraft carrier, but mission accomplished. Mission. That's my claim.
If you enjoyed today's video, please hit like and subscribe, and also hit the notification button so you can be notified whenever I post new content. Thank you. Now, if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support it, there are several things you can do. In fact, there are 5 things you can do. The first thing you can do is just buy my books. I got plenty of books out in the market right now, and I would prefer that folks buy a book rather than giving me direct support because they get something out of it. They get a real tangible product. The second way you can support me is by becoming a member on YouTube or becoming a patron on Patreon. And just go to either site and it'll explain everything. The third way you can support the channel is by checking out my merch site, which is here. There's plenty of stuff that you can get to support the channel. And I'd appreciate that you have it and you can wear it. Not only do you help support the channel, but you also help promote the channel, and I appreciate that. The fourth way that you can support the channel, and this is really easy, is anytime you want to buy something on Amazon, literally just go to the description below and click on any link, literally any link. The channel gets a cut of that, and it costs you no extra money. You just go through the link, as I'm part of the Amazon Affiliates Club. The fifth and final way you can support the channel is through donations. Now, I don't prefer these because it's more of an expression of gratitude, but you don't really get anything out of it as a subscriber to the channel. However, if you decide to do these options, there's 2 options. There's Buy Me a Coffee, which is a separate site, and there's also, you can go through YouTube with either a super chat, super sticker, or a super thanks. Again, I prefer Buy Me a Coffee because that organization takes less money than Amazon does. But either way, I appreciate any support you are willing to give the channel. So thank you very much, and keep watching. I really appreciate it.